Hi, I'm Liam, the Senior Base Pilot from the Perth office in Western Australia. In terms of the actual eBee itself and the eBee-X, they launch fairly similar. You need to give the eBee-X a little bit more of a push into wind for the launch because it is that little bit heavier. It has a tendency to sort of lag in its climb compared to the original standard eBee. But all in all, they fly really nicely. Both of them fly quite nicely. There's not really much difference between the actual flight profile themselves. The performance difference between the eBee-X and the original eBee, I find it's a little bit heavier in weight, so it tends to hold its flight lines quite nicely. Its descent profile is a lot more stable than the original eBee. Its eagle evasive manoeuvre and the fast descent manoeuvre seem to be pretty on point with what the manual states and stipulates, which is good to see. Overall, it's a well-built aircraft and flies really nicely. The similarities between the two programs specifically and the aircraft, you could step from one to the next quite comfortably and very easily. You don't really need a huge amount of training to jump up from one to the next in terms of programming a flight. It seems to follow the same profile, which is really nice, but there are some really good differences they've adjusted to the programming side of things that have made it a little bit more user-friendly and easier to understand exactly what you're trying to achieve. Typically with the newer software, I found it a lot easier to put the aircraft into a hold and to drag that hold position compared to the Motion 3 software. You'd find sometimes you spent most time trying to click on the icon as opposed to concentrating on the flight profile, whereas this one, it seems to have fixed that bit of an issue and it's a lot easier to move and manipulate the aircraft how and where you want it. The landing LiDAR sensor is definitely a lot better than the original ocular sort of camera sensor on the original eBee, in that it's a little bit more accurate in the height profile it's calling out upon landing, which allows for a smoother and a more accurate, safer landing profile than the original model. I think the added weight behind the aircraft allows it to fly sort of a smoother flight plan, hold its lines a little nicer. Its descent profile is nice and stable, and the overall emotion software looks like they've changed some of the little annoyances. Yeah, overall it's a nice aircraft. Really smooth to fly. Yeah, it performs really well.